Hello, and today we're going to be choosing some colours of felt for making a soft spot. This soft spot here is a grey version. You can see some beautiful speckles on that central piece of light grey felt, and on the back just kept it as a plain ecru colour felt for the base. It just gives it that little pop along the edge. So I'm going to be choosing some colours from my stash. I've got a big old pile here and I want to look for something in the sort of pinky tones. So I'm going to be having a little look at what we've got here and find a lovely combination to make a new soft spot. Pulled out 6 tones. I've got a collection of 3 darker tones which might mirror the darker grey that we've got on this example, and then 3 lighter tones which might mirror the lighter spot in the middle. Now what we've got here is sort of something to play with, a set of different combinations, and seeing how they might sit together. Some are more intense in colour, pinker, some are more in the sort of brown side, and I'm just going to have a little look at what might work together and what my final combination might end up as. So what I've ended up with here is this little bit of madder dyed felt, which has no speckles on it. It's just got a slight variation in its tones. Would work really well for the central spot. I'm actually going to make the next soft spot in a smaller size, so this will be plenty enough for that central bit. But that means I'd have a relatively plain central spot. So I'm looking at maybe making the background have more speckledy bits. As you can see, these are madder spots on this piece here, so it will be a different sort of contrast, a darker spot in the middle with a lighter speckled pebble shape on the back. So that's one possibility if I wanted a sort of light feeling one. That feels more springy in terms of its colour scheme. And then in a more sort of neutral, less bright, more in line with the grey spot is this combination here. Now what's quite nice about this speckled felt is it's got a double usage, because if I flip it over I've got a nice plain background, and this is how I used this grey here. It had some speckles on the other side, but I preferred the plain grey, and I've got plenty of this, so I might choose a section where there's fewer speckles, so I'm not using up something that I might want to use later on, such as these really intensely speckled sections. If I flipped it over and then maybe had a piece of this more interesting section of this to make the other spot on top, I think that would work quite nicely. In fact, I might end up baking both. Why not? Okay, so I've made my selections here. I didn't choose this one because it didn't feel quite right with the other shades. It was either too dark, and this shade here is quite bright, so it just didn't quite marry up very nicely. And same here. I mean, those two go quite nicely together, but it's too much of a contrast for my liking. I want my soft spot to have a sort of calm feel to it. So that's how I ended up with this combination. We'll see how it comes out. So let's talk a little bit about choosing coloured threads for your project. There are all sorts of things that you can do, and it obviously depends on what colours you've got in your collection of threads. I use these threads, which are made by Scanfil. I know in the UK there's several places that sell these. I love these because they are organic cotton and they are naturally dyed, so the colours just blend so beautifully with the felt that I also naturally dye. So to start off with, this is my background felt. It's not a pure white, it's sheep's wool colour, I suppose, slightly ecru. So I would potentially consider using their off-white thread to stitch, and I'm just having a little look here. I've used on this one, I've used this colour here, which is a sort of like a warm silver, and it seems to just blend with every single colour in a really nice way, but creates that slight shine, that little pop along the edges of your stitches. So that could potentially work quite well with this one here. It might be a bit of a shame to use it on this one, but that could work quite nicely. And then maybe in this section here you could also use brown if you wanted to try and blend a little bit more with this colour here, so that could work quite nicely. With these pinky sort of salmon shades, there's this pink here which could blend quite nicely. I can imagine using that because this is going to be my top colour. I can imagine it sort of just popping around the edges in that colour there. It'd be quite nice, and also it sits quite nicely with the colours that we've got in here. Or instead of trying to blend it, you could try and use the pops of colour that we've got in the felt to accentuate your stitches. So something as bold as this could work quite nicely, particularly on this one. Or for this one, something as bold as that green. Let's have a little close up of that one. That green is quite zingy. It's not really coming across here, but this works very well with it. So you could have a sort of zingy green colour, and then a bold pink maybe on this side, or something more like a gold to work with these sort of goldy tones in here. So there are so many options for choosing your threads, but that's the joy of sewing something for yourself, isn't it? Being able to make those choices and make something truly original from it. Whatever you choose to do in your selections, I'm sure they will be delightful, and I really would love it if you would share them with me once you've made them, because it really does bring me so much joy to see people make things from the patterns and the felt that I produce. Thanks for watching and listening. Bye!